Last November, I decided to launch my own company after almost 20 years as an in-house attorney, either at the General Assembly or at another in-house location. Biggest gamble I'd ever had. My wife has been a solo practicing attorney for 17 years and has made money every year and hasn't spent a dime of it on advertising. She's just that good. I'm not. And so when I walked out in November and thought, well, we're going to go bankrupt, we're going to sell the house. We're not kids, by the way. We're going to sell the house, all this stuff. It's going to fail. I made an announcement. For the first time in my life, I did something public for me. And it was I announced the launch of Cody Hand LLC, which is a really original name. But I can now see it on the side of a building. Not yet. We're getting there. When I made the announcement, I was reached out to by several of my really close friends who had done the same thing recently. Some as recent as a year, others as recent as 10 to 12 years. They all wanted to have coffee. So let me tell you what December looked like for me. Coffee. December looked like coffee and coffee and coffee, and I still love it. I'm surprised. So I scheduled 3 of these coffees with some really close friends. And the first one we sat down and we just had a really great conversation. Who's your accountant? How do you pay for insurance? When did you have to remortgage the house? You know, all these things. I asked them a question at the end, just off the cuff, and some of the best questions come from spontaneous ideas. I said, what do you know now that you wish you had known then? And he kind of steadied himself. He put his coffee down, and he said, know your worth. That was it. He didn't tell me how. He didn't tell me what worth was. He just said, know it. Well, thanks, right? Moving on, the next week I had a conversation with another friend in the same line of work. Same kind of conversation. Who's your accountant? How do you pay the bills? Health insurance is really expensive, isn't it? All these things. I decided I'd end that conversation with the same question. What do you know now that you wish you had known then? Just like the first guy, she sat up. It's like she's been waiting to be asked this question by me. And she said, know your worth. But she didn't say anything else. What does that mean to know your worth? So I put that away, and I just went about my day, and I tried to figure out what was going on with this new gig I had and what that meant for me and my family. The third coffee rolled around. We went. We had a great time. Really, really close friend of mine. She's had trial after trial after trial. She has an autoimmune disease that literally is trying on a daily basis to kill her, and she lives in pain every day. She's got the most amazing spirit. We sat down, we had lunch actually, and we talked, and I asked all the same questions, and then I ended with, guess which question? What do you know now that you wish that you had known then? And guess what she said? Know your worth. But she added to it, and don't give it away. Know your worth and don't give it away. So I had to figure out what that meant, because apparently these 3 people had gotten together and said, we're all going to tell Cody to know his worth, and then we're not going to do anything else. So then I had to spend the rest of December figuring out what the heck that meant. And this is what I came up with. Your worth is not defined by the money in the bank. That may be an ingredient, but that's not the definition. And the reason that you need to know your worth is because you need to be able to do really courageous things. Like if you want to learn how to swim to map sunken slave ships, you got to kind of do the hard stuff to learn how to swim, right? But to do that, you have to know your worth. So many people these days use this term imposter syndrome. How many of you heard imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you're not worth what you're doing. It's that feeling that they're all going to laugh at you when they figure it out, right? That this isn't your gig, that you don't deserve to be the CEO or the janitor, or you don't deserve this house, or this is just not who I am. Most people think imposter syndrome is a bad thing. But let me tell you, over 70% of really successful people have said that even today, after years of success, they suffer from imposter syndrome. Well, let me tell you what I think imposter syndrome is. It's just your body, and it's not negative. It's your instincts telling you, we've never done this before. Don't do it now or it will kill you, right? A pediatrician will tell you the reason kids don't try new food is because their instincts tell them, we've never had that before, we've never seen anybody eat it, it's going to kill us. I'm going to have the cheese stick. It didn't kill me yesterday, I'm going to eat that. The way that you get your kids to eat, just a sidebar here, the way you get your kids to eat the food is you eat it in front of them. So if you want them to eat broccoli, guess what? You need to eat some broccoli. Because they trust you and it doesn't kill you. Imposter syndrome is our bodies telling us, we have never taken this leap before. It's going to kill us. Right? How many of you have ever felt that way? I don't think I'm going to survive this, right? Right. Well, let me tell you the 3 things that I have to get over imposter syndrome and really define your worth and know who you are. The first is you've got to build your portfolio of success. You've got to brag on yourself to yourself. And the way you do that is you know what you've beaten every day of your life. Do you know that a small majority, but a majority of deaths happen in your sleep? Or in their sleep, not yours. You're still here. If you woke up this morning, you've beaten the odds again. Every day you wake up, you've beaten the odds. That's a win. Every day that you do something in a car and you don't die from it, it's a win. Be deliberate about chalking up those wins and knowing them. And then go deeper. Have you ever done anything that people thought, wow, I didn't think you had it in you? Write that down. Literally. Put it in your wallet. Put it somewhere. So that when your body says, don't do it, we're going to die, say, oh, no, we're good. We're going to do it. Build your portfolio of success. Because as you build it, you will gain the confidence to not only overcome that imposter syndrome, but you'll find you start defining your worth. And the more you define it, the less you want to give it away. The second thing I recommend that I would do is surround yourself with the right people. Scientists, behavioral health scientists tell us that we are more like the 5 people with which we associate. Now, these are the 5 people outside of your family. But the 5 people you surround yourself with are who you become. If you surround yourself with people who are fine being mediocre, you're going to be mediocre. They're not going to encourage you. They're not going to challenge you. If you surround yourself with people who feed into you and tell you you're awesome, but you're not done, those are your people. You need to get with the people who encourage you and challenge you to be better. It starts with picking a spouse. Luckily, I picked one that encourages me and challenges me to be better. But beyond your relationships in your family, the 5 people you surround yourself with feed into your self-worth and feed into that portfolio. And when there are those days where you're not feeling it, right? When you're questioning why you're doing it, those 5 people are going to push you. They're going to kick you and tell you, no, you've got this. Hadn't killed you yet. Not going to do it today. Get out there and do it. The third thing I've got is be intentional with your day. Make sure that you have an order to your day so that when the chaos happens, and it happens, you know that sometime today you are in control. If we live a life of chaos, if we live a life out of order, we never know our worth because we never feel like we're caught up. How many of you feel like every day is just lost? Have you ever had those days where it's like nothing went my way today, nothing happened? About 6 months ago, I picked up a book at the library. It's called The Miracle Morning. It's by Hal Elrod. I would encourage all of you to check it out. It's a quick read. And what it does is it gives you 6 things to do every day when you first wake up. And if you do these 6 things, you've at least won 6 things that day. You have controlled 6 things. I've done it since about January, and let me tell you, it doesn't matter what happens throughout the day. I got my 6 steps in, I'm golden, right? I had control to start, and nothing else can happen, even if it's as chaotic as can be. Those 6 steps, just real quick. The first is silence. How many of you ever are able to sit in silence without your phones, your kids, your TVs? How many of you do that? Not enough of you. 10 to 15 minutes every morning before anybody gets up, I go to my office. I sit on the floor. I tell Alexa to wake me up in 10 minutes, and I sit there. And I focus on one thing. Nobody can clear their minds. You're not going to be able to do that. But you can focus on one thing, right? You can find either counting your breath or thinking about your speech tonight or whatever it is. Pick that one thing and think on it. Or just listen to the noises because it's supposed to be silent. The second thing that you do is tell yourself an affirmation, and believe me, I'm a kid, Southern Baptist, rural New Mexico. I have no business telling myself how awesome I am. But you should. You should write your affirmations down in a way that you tell yourself the truth. Now, don't lie to yourself, right? I am an amazing pole vaulter. No, I'm not. Couldn't even make it down the track. But I'm a father, and I'm here, and I'm a damn good lawyer, and I'm really good at a lot of stuff. Tell yourself that. One of the ways that you build that portfolio that we talked about is by telling yourself what you've done and being intentional to do it every day. Write it down and read it to yourself, and change it every once in a while so you don't get bored. The third thing that you do is you vision. This entire event was birthed in one of my visioning sessions. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years, 30 years? Do you want this company that you launched to take you into forever for income, or do you want to build it and sell it? Whatever it is, vision it. One of my visions on my vision board is to get a Rolex. Now, that may seem materialistic, but what I did after I said buy a Rolex is to get a Rolex, I have to save a year's worth of expenses, be out of debt. College has to be paid for. You get the line, right? When I buy a Rolex, my kids will have gotten married and gone to college, and my wife and I will be set forever. We'll be boarding that round-the-world cruise that she doesn't want to go on, but we're going. So you vision. The next one is exercise. Take some time to exercise your body. You've exercised your mind. You've calmed yourself down. Exercise. Then read. I never read. I read in law school, and then I hated it. And I never read until last November when I decided I was going to work on me. Get some books and read them. There are many out there. I'm happy to give you recommendations. Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning is the first one you need to read, and do it. And then journal. Again, not me. My journaling doesn't look like, Dear Diary, today we did this, we did that. I can't do that. I write down 3 things that I'm thankful for when I wake up that morning. The 2 things that I'm in control of that would make the day awesome. And the 1 person that I want to pray for. That's it. It takes me a good hour. But the good news about an intention is it doesn't have to take the full hour. If I oversleep and I wake up and I'm like, crap, I only have 10 minutes. Do each of them one time. But do them. Because when you've done them, you have provided the order and the intention to give yourself the knowledge that you can add into your book, into your wins. 1 minute each. Sit there for a minute in silence. Read my affirmation real quick. You're really awesome. Do a squat. Did my exercises. We're good to go, right? So, and that happens a lot, actually, this morning. But what that does is it orders your day, and it gives you control of you. I can't control anybody else but me, and it starts in the morning. So why? Why do we need to know our worth? Now, let me talk to you a little bit about my beliefs. And they're mine. They don't have to be yours. This is not an altar call. I believe that everybody in this room is made in the image of God. And I believe that that same God wants you to live an abundant life. And you cannot do that if you don't know your worth. So take the steps you need to take and be amazing and know your worth. Now, if you come and you ask me after this, what I know now that I wish I had known then, what am I going to tell you? Know your worth. Know your worth. Thanks.